Welcome to the Growth Through Adversity podcast, where men are forged, not coddled. Here we dive deep into the path of true transformation in pursuit of physical, mental, spiritual, and temporal growth. We talk training, nutrition, business, mindset, and spirituality. We embrace strength and we loathe ease. We reject weakness in every form and cultivate power, the will to power itself. This is the rebirth of modern man. Raw masculinity, tempered by reason, virtue, and right action, because nothing of value is earned without sacrifice. Let's begin our apotheosis together. Today, we're going to go over weight training versus cardio for fat loss and talk about a little bit of the science behind it. So conventional thought has kind of always been that if you want to lose weight, you should do a ton of fucking cardio. And more recently, over the last 20 years or so, we've kind of realized that from a scientific and a metabolic standpoint, that's probably the worst way to lose fat there is. And we're going to break down exactly why in today's episode. So number one, muscle mass has a higher resting metabolic rate, or RMR in the lingo. So what that basically means is that muscle mass is metabolically active even at rest. So fat burns about 2 calories a day. Well, muscle burns about 6 to 10 calories a day. So just having more muscle means that your body is naturally going to burn more fat. That's probably the key to all of this. So muscle is, again, it's metabolically active. It has a metabolic demand. It demands energy, whereas fat just kind of sits there and doesn't really do anything. So if you're 200 pounds of muscle versus 200 pounds of fat, you have the same exact body mass, but the person that's 200 pounds of muscle burns exponentially more calories every day than the person that's 200 pounds of body fat. So research shows that about a pound of muscle burns 6 to 10 calories a day at rest, while fat burns just 2. So every pound of muscle you have is cooking off 6 to 10 calories a day, even while you're at rest, which is absolutely fascinating. The more muscle you build, the more calories you burn, including while sleeping. So this gives you a little bit of a head start because your body's burning fat even while you're at rest or sleeping or doing whatever it is you do throughout the day that doesn't involve exercise, whereas cardio is very exercise specific. While you're doing cardio, you're burning calories, but afterwards, you're not really doing too much. So the second point that really leads to more fat loss from weightlifting than from cardiovascular activities is EPOC, or the afterburn effect. So EPOC is an acronym for excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, which is a mouthful and which I usually fuck up if I don't have it written down. So lifting weights, especially compound movements at very high intensities. So whether we're doing like plyometrics, box jumps, explosive type movements, or whether we're just doing or sprinting, or whether we're just lifting really heavy at a high percentage of our 1 rep max, this has a massive EPOC or afterburn effect. This afterburn effect has your metabolic rate elevated for about 24 to 48 hours after you exercise. So your body stays in a fat burning state for 24 to 48 hours after exercise. Cardio, most steady state cardio has virtually no afterburn effect. So you do your cardio, you burn whatever calories you burn while you're on the treadmill, the elliptical, whatever, and then it's just done, right? Whereas if you go in and you get a super heavy weightlifting session, you get some super high intensity plyometrics, your body is going to be burning calories for the next 24 to 48 hours after that with this afterburn effect. Let me get a little sip of coffee here. Oh, that's a fine elixir. So the takeaway here is going to be that you stop burning calories with the moment you stop doing cardio. But when it comes to weight training, you continue burning calories for 24 to 48 hours afterwards. So you get a lot more longevity and bang for your buck, and you get a highly elevated metabolic rate for an extended period of time. Number three, especially important, you have an improved hormonal environment. So weightlifting increases testosterone, it increases growth hormone, and it increases IGF-1. All three of these are super important for burning fat and building muscle. And if these levels are off on any one of these compounds, then you're fighting against your metabolism when you're trying to build muscle and burn fat. So cardio actually has a reversed effect to this. So if lifting weights raises testosterone, growth hormone, IGF-1, which are all three anabolic hormones, which are all three going to have a really good effect in building muscle and burning fat, cardio basically does the opposite. So in chronic cardio at especially high volumes will spike up your cortisol levels, which cortisol is a catabolic hormone, whereas the other three we just talked about are anabolic, which was so increased cortisol levels lead to muscle breakdown and the storage of stubborn fat retention. So you'll see this a lot with people that rely exclusively on cardio. I see it in my athletes a lot. Especially if their coaches are like the old school coaches that are, you have to do 4 hours of cardio every day to get ready for your fight or whatever. And it actually they just kind of stay as fat as they were and they just cook off their muscle mass. And they feel like shit and weight loss becomes super difficult. Whereas lifting weights is going to preserve that lean muscle tissue, but it's also going to raise the anabolic hormones that you need to burn fat, because those anabolic hormones by definition are nutrient partitioning hormones. So that's virtually what they do. And when you see steroid use, you just see an extreme version of nutrient partitioning. So testosterone, growth hormone, IGF, they partition nutrients into the right type of tissues. So obviously amino acids, things like that are getting hammered into muscles. Glucose is getting stored in muscles for energy, and the fat receptors are kind of blocked with these. So that's kind of how it works. It partitions nutrients away from storing fat and more towards building muscle. Catabolic hormones have the opposite effect. They break down muscle tissue. So that's super important. Creating a vigorous and vital hormonal environment in your body, whether you're a man or a woman, is super important for building muscle and burning fat, arguably more important even than the caloric deficit, because if you're fighting against your hormones the entire time, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle there. So another thing that weightlifting does that cardio doesn't is it improves your insulin sensitivity, that meaning your body uses carbs more effectively. So if you have really good insulin sensitivity, whenever you eat carbs, your body secretes insulin to carry the glucose into your cells. So when you have really good insulin sensitivity, a little bit of insulin is enough to trigger this process where your carbohydrates are being carried into the cells, stored as glycogen, used as muscle glucose for fuel during your workouts, but to where you're not just getting fried out and unable to store any of this glucose and unable to use it for anything else, but are able to store a bunch of fat, like comes with insulin resistance. So super important. Another key point, number 4, is going to be muscle preservation during a caloric deficit. So training, there's a couple of different processes and mechanisms that go on here. Number 1, if you want to preserve your muscles while you're in a cut, you need 2 things. You need really intense training and you need really high protein. If you have those 2 components, you're going to be able to preserve your muscle mass. So what the actual training does is it gives your muscles stimulus, which creates a signal that says that, hey, we still need these muscles, because your body's in basically a starved state. It's starting to cut weight. It's losing weight. It wants to lose that muscle because it just wants to lose everything. And your body doesn't really like storing muscle because, again, back to point 1, it's metabolically active, whereas fat isn't. So it's taking up energy and your body's already in an energy deficit, because ultimately a caloric deficit is an energetic deficit. So your body doesn't want to store anything else anymore, e.g. muscle tissue, that's going to take up a bunch of these limited this limited energy that is ran in a deficit right now. So you've got to give your body a reason to need to keep its muscle on your frame when you're in a deficit. The training stimulus, which creates muscular tension, tells your central nervous system and tells your metabolism that, hey, we still need this muscle. It's still being demanded and used on a daily basis. So you're kind of almost tricking your body into keeping your muscle. And then the other side of that component is you eat really high protein. When you eat really high protein, it also gives your body that same signal that, hey, we can continue to rebuild tissues or at least preserve the tissue that we have. We have at least enough of that macronutrient. So weight training preserves this lean mass. Cardio has virtually the opposite effect. We just went through that. It increases cortisol level. It increases stress hormones. So it causes your body, when done in excess, a little bit of cardio is good for your heart. But when done in excess, it causes your body to break down muscle tissue, which we definitely don't want. And if you're in a deficit, your body already wants to break down muscle tissue. So if you're, the worst thing you can do, which is exactly what fucking most people do when they want to lose weight, is they don't lift weights and they do a fucking ton of cardio and they starve themselves in a massive caloric deficit. And then, yeah, they lose weight. Yeah, they lose fat. They also lose a ton of muscle and they come out looking like they're fucking wearing a garbage bag. Like they look like shit. You look saggy, you look baggy. It's not an appealing look. Like that's what people think they want. But what they actually want is recomposition. You want to burn fat and build muscle, whether you're a man or a woman, because that is going to give you those appealing traits and that appealing physique that you're really pursuing. So number 5, long-term adherence and body recomposition. This one's super big. Lifting is goal-oriented. You've got strength goals, you've got rep goals, you've got PR goals. So it's super easy to stay motivated rather than just fucking mindless cardio on the fucking, on the elliptical, just, to do 30 minutes just to lose weight or to do an hour on the treadmill just to lose weight. Now, in high-level athletes like marathon runners, obviously they're super goal-oriented, so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about for weight loss purposes specifically. Like, I'm going to be straight up, going to the gym and lifting weights is fun as fuck to me. Like, I love that shit. Like, it's hard, definitely, but I truly enjoy it, right? Going to the gym and getting on the treadmill or the stair climber for 30 minutes is like fucking torture. I swear to God, like, you want to talk about how time is relative. 30 minutes on a fucking treadmill feels like I've entered a fucking black hole and time has just like ceased to fucking exist. You know what I mean? It's the gravity is so great that time is no longer moving at all. So I don't have that with weightlifting. I love to fucking lift. So there's better probability for me adhering long term to a weightlifting specific program than to a cardio program specifically. In fact, I fucking hate cardio so much that I got into fighting because the only type of cardio I've ever found any type of fun is running up the sides of mountains and fighting, right? Because that's like, you're not really, again, and then you're goal oriented. It's about, beating your opponent rather than just going in there to do cardio for an hour, which is fucking awful. So body recomposition, this is losing fat while gaining muscle. This is only possible through weight training. It only happens through weight training because and we'll do one of these trainings on body recomp because I'm absolutely fucking a huge fan of it. And most new lifters or even experienced lifters who haven't been training with an intelligent program for a long time are really are prone and in a great place to body recomposition. Most of my clients body recomp. That's just the way it is. So, and what I mean by that is if you're a new lifter and you're like within, and when I say new, I mean like your first 5 or 10 years in the gym, you're still in that beginner phase, right? So if you're still in that new phase to the gym, your body's going to be able to recomp. Or if you're an experienced lifter, like let's say you've been going to the gym for 15 years, but you've never had good programming. You've gone in and done shit programming and got shit results. Well, if you hire a coach and you get on a really good program and a really good nutrition program, your body's still going to recomp because you're basically like a new lifter to good programming, which working intelligently and working hard is the absolute key to building muscle and burning fat, like 100%. That's it. You got to have really smart programming, really good programming that's periodized, progressive, and intelligently put together. And then you've got to train really hard. You got to push yourself to close to failure on most of your sets and work your ass off in there. If you got those two things dialed in, you're good to go. Most people are missing one of those two things. They're either training hard with shit programming, or they've got a good program, but they're fucking training soft as fuck. So either one of those can be the problem. But body recomposition happens. Sorry, I went on a diatribe. Body recomposition happens through the process of, so you're in a small caloric deficit or right around maintenance calories. And so you're eating just enough energy to maintain your body, but you have fat stores. So what your body does if you're lifting weights, because you're getting the stimulus that, hey, we need more muscle tissue. This motherfucker is demanding that we get stronger, using our muscles in a fashion that they're not used to being used. So we need to build muscle. So what it will do is it will use your stored fat for energy. So it'll burn that fat off and use it for energy, and all the nutrients that you're taking in, it will partition to building muscle. Virtually is the process of recomposition, and it is absolutely awesome because it's what you want. It's burning fat, building muscle. So a takeaway: lifting creates a visible transformation, not just a number on a scale. It's not abstract. When you're lifting and you're seeing your body change, like I just did 2 of my clients before and afters this last week at their 3 or 4 month mark, and you can see that they've both lost a ton of fat, but they've also built muscle, and their body looks better because of it. If they just lost fucking fat, they would look like an empty bag. They would look like they were wearing a garbage bag or something, and it would not be appealing, but they look really good because they've lost, 10% body fat and built a bunch of muscle. So it creates a visible transformation, which is motivating and inspiring because you're seeing changes in your physique rather than just a number on a scale, which is abstract as fuck. Who gives a shit if you weigh 190 pounds or you weigh 170 pounds? You want to look in the mirror and see that you've got muscles and that you can see your abs and that you can see the definition in your legs. Like, that's what we all want, right? So the number on the scale really doesn't matter. It's more about how your body looks, and you're only going to get that through weight training. So number 6, the science. Science. I am science. Thank God we don't have to listen to him anymore. Real world evidence, multiple meta-analyses. Those are really fancy. Whoa, don't knock my coffee over here. Done by Sean Fed et al. In 2015 show that resistance training plus calorie control. So don't, and that, like, and this not what this podcast is about today. Do not just go and take this as oh cool, all I have to do is lift weights and my nutrition doesn't matter. That is not at all what Ragnar is saying today. You also have to be in a deficit, and you have to be eating a really good, really intelligent fucking meal plan. So resistance training plus calorie control outperforms cardio alone in fat loss and muscle retention. So that's a meta-analysis. So Meta is big. They took a bunch of different stuff. They took a bunch of different studies, and Schoenfeld analyzed them. And this is what he found, that this was statistically the trend is that resistance training plus calorie control is better than cardio plus calorie control for weight loss. So for fat loss, I'm sorry, not weight loss. You might lose more weight on cardio alone, but you're losing muscle and fat, which is insane to me. So that's fascinating to me. What they found is that lifting weights and eating in a deficit is actually better for losing fat than doing cardio, which totally undermines everything you've ever been told. That's what we're here doing. We're breaking down. We're fucking dispelling rumors. So anecdotally, look at the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner in physique. That is the difference between a lot of fast twitch muscle, explosive, powerful muscle, and a very low and a very low weight and a very low composition of fast twitch muscle to slow twitch muscle. So marathon runners, they have to carry the minimal amount of weight possible because they have to go the maximal distance, and a lot of that is slow twitch muscle fibers, which are not really responsive to hypertrophy, so they don't really get really big and impressive. So yeah, look at the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner. The physiques there are totally opposing, and that is kind of the difference that you can get between weight training for weight loss and just cardio for weight loss. Nothing against marathon runners. I respect the fuck out of them. They're hardcore as fuck. Not my thing. But I'm just making a point here and put them side by side. Sprinters look very different than marathon runners, and I personally would rather look like a sprinter because I'm not a marathon runner. You don't want to look like a marathon runner, and if you're look like a marathon runner, you better be running marathons because it's a lot of you don't want to look like a marathon runner and not be a marathon runner. Like, that's fucked up. So that's the skinny fat thing. So the bottom line, cardio burns calories. Lifting builds the machine that burns calories. So that's a fascinating concept. Cardio does burn calories. When you're on that treadmill, calories are being burned. This I can promise you. But lifting builds the engine and the machine that actually uses the gasoline of fucking calories that are stored on your body as fat. So do you want to only get a return for when you're standing on the treadmill, suffering, bored as fuck, can't even really play on your phone, because then you might end up in one of those gym memes where you're the guy that falls on the treadmill, and then you get pulled underneath the treadmill and it rips your arm out, right? So then there's blood just squirting out from you don't want to be that fucking guy. So you can't even really fuck around with your phone on the treadmill. So you're just sitting there walking, on a fucking incline, staring at the wall, bored as fuck. Yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that, but it sucks, right? So yeah, you can burn calories right then, or you can build the engine that uses your fat for fuel, and that's muscle. Muscle's that engine. It's there. Build it up. Let it just cook that fucking fat off your body. So if your goal is to lose fat, reshape your body, and keep the weight off, resistance training is the key, not cardio, not marathon cardio. Now, a little bit of cardio. Literally, Simon, my client who lost 100 pounds in a fucking year and put on 25 pounds of muscle, amazing transformation. Like, totally fucking went from morbidly obese, 300 pounds, to now he's like, he just sent me a picture of his cauliflower ear. He's doing so much jujitsu and shit these days. But just totally changed his life. Lost 100 pounds, built 25. So lost 125 pounds of fat and built 20, 30 pounds of muscle in a year. Now he's 2 years in. He looks even better. He's fucking shredded. He's even more shredded than I am right now, which is awesome. I love seeing clients win. But what his program was, and I'm telling you guys this, I'm going to give you guys an inside hack. What I had him set up on for the whole first year was 2 to 3 days of weightlifting a week and 40 minutes of cardio. He would do an elliptical on one day after his workout, and he would do a stair climber on another day. And that was it. So fucking 40 minutes a week and low intensity cardio. We weren't fucking killing him with cardio. And then he was lifting 3 days a week. He was lifting Monday, Wednesday, Friday on on a full body split. And dude lost 125 pounds and built 25 pounds of muscle in a fucking year and changed his entire fucking life. So you do not need the 16 hours of cardio a week that everybody thinks you do to lose weight and to get the transformation that you want. Cardio is a tool, but it's not a solution. Again, like I said about Simon, use it to complement your lifting, not to replace it. So that's really it. I can kind of field some questions here. Thank you, Tina. Tina says that hiring me has changed everything. I appreciate that. Yeah, so she was kind of in the same boat of doing a ton of cardio. She was doing the group classes at the gyms, at the local gyms up here that are kind of cardio based. And then we totally rebuilt it. She hired me and we got her on 3 days a week of weightlifting, a little bit of cardio here and there. Honestly, if work's intense, we modulate it to her work. So if she's got a pretty physical job, so if the job is exceptionally intense, then we just do our lifting days and we don't do any cardio. And she went from 140 to 120 in 3 months and built a bunch of muscle. So again, this is a system that I use repetitively on my clients. You don't need a bunch of cardio. It is a tool. We can throw it in there. We want to keep our heart healthy. But if you're active and you're outside and you're walking and you're hiking and you're doing stuff like that, it's enough cardio to maintain your heart. Definitely torture. I fucking completely agreed. Cool. Any other questions over here? Facebook's so weird. It shows them to me partially, and then it doesn't show them sometimes. Yeah, so there's not really any other questions there. Other than that, guys, that's all I've got. Again, I have found in my experience, and the scientific literature backs it up, that 100% of the time, weightlifting is a more effective means for body transformation that you want than cardiovascular alone is. So control your diet, eat in a deficit, not a big deficit, a small deficit, and lift heavy weights. You're going to lose the weight and you're going to build the physique that you guys want. All right, you guys enjoy your weekend. Next week, I'm open to suggestions on what you guys want to hear for this little TED Talk, but I don't have anything on the schedule so far. If I don't get any recommendations via DMs, you open up your messages and send me a message. Tell me what you want to hear, and I'll break it all down for you next Saturday. If not, I'll come up with something else, and we'll do something fun. I'm kind of thinking of maybe doing a mindset thing. We've done 3 or 4 training ones in a row here, so I'm kind of, I think we need to do a mindset one. I've been, some of the check-ins and stuff, people have been struggling with mindset stuff recently. So yeah, give me some ideas though, people. Other than that, you guys have a great fucking weekend, and I will see you guys next Saturday right here, same time.